This is the Good Pod Guide, a podcast where I, Lauren Windle, journalist and podcast mega fan, introduce you to new podcasts you won't want to miss, as well as reminding you about some big name fan favourites. So today's podcast we're going to talk about is Why Won't You Date Me? And I have actually written a book about dating, and I think this would have been a really good title for it. In the end, my publishers went for Notes on Love, Being Single and Dating in a Marriage-Obsessed Church, because it's about being single and dating in the context of church. But I didn't like that title at first, which I made clear to them. Actually, as an author, you get no say over the title or cover of your book. Much like as a journalist, you have no say over the headline. That's all up to your editor. When I heard the title and was like, I don't really like this title, I went away with some friends and brainstormed some alternatives, which I suggested to them in the hope that they would hear one they love, and then we would go with that instead. So I'm just going to run some of these by you. I think Why Won't You Date Me would have been epic, particularly considering a lot of it is just me like moaning about my mishaps when it comes to dating. Here are some of the others we went for. The Last Supper, Why Dating in Church is So Awkward. Okay, no, that one is a bit crap. Putting the You and I in Communion. Communion whine, as in W-H-I-N-E, like moaning. I think that's more of a visual than an audio joke. Okay. Fishers of Men, How Women Date in Church. Cast the Net Wider. Why Dating in the Church is So Shit. There's quite a few fishing puns there. Pew and Me, Dating and Waiting in Church. Fellowship and Friend Zones. Do You Come Here Often? Yeah, every Sunday. In the end, the one we went for to pitch as an alternative was Snog, Worry, Avoid. And absolute shocker, the publishers didn't go for it. So the book is still called Notes on Love, Being Single and Dating in a Marriage-Obsessed Church. And I have to say, it's really grown on me, and now I absolutely love it. But there was a time, albeit brief, where I was absolutely rooting for Snog, Worry, Avoid, and didn't make it through. We haven't covered any relationship podcast, which is crazy given that this is my specialist topic. I'm putting another one on the list to rectify that as soon as possible. So there will be another one in this season of podcasts. But today, let's talk about Why Won't You Date Me? This is a comedy relationship podcast from American comedian / actress Nicole Byer, who also hosts the Netflix Bake Off style show called Nailed It, if anyone's called that. Nicole is single, which is kind of key given the premise of the podcast. And she basically wants to use the show to explore like why that is. But it expands and goes on to all kinds of different things, covering topics around love and sex and general life, to be honest. She has guests who are often comedians, but also people from her childhood and, bravely, former partners. And I really rate her for that. In the book, I wrote about a few of my exes, and I had to have them read the text and sign it off before it was published. And that was absolutely nauseating. It was a horrific process. So props to her for that. On the whole, it's funny and self-deprecating, but she also covers these sort of deeper topics, like in a chat with Atsuko Okatsuka, I really hope I've said that right, where she discussed how she was fetishized for ethnicity online and by men. She also has an interview with Exotic Dancer talking about the challenges facing them and challenges for sex workers. They sort of explore that, which is really interesting. She also hosts a bonus episode from DragCon where she speaks to guests about having sex in drag. So there's plenty of interesting content for you to sink your teeth into. Episodes are between 30 minutes and an hour, and there's 170 or so. So you can basically try on any number of those for size. This is a great podcast. It can get a tiny bit obnoxious and shouty at times, but on the whole, it's positive, funny, and open. '66. In the next episode, I make the case for not being snobby about pop music as we listen to the podcast Switched on Pop. We've put all you need to know about the show on our website, www.goodpodguide.com, so check that out. You can also follow us at Good Pod Guide on Instagram and Twitter.